But you come to chapter 4, and now you get the other side of it, because here Moses then responds to God. Remember, this is a conversation between God and Moses. And I want you to think this is a conversation. And in chapter 4, Moses now replies and says, but, it's all right. You are going to work these miracles, and the king of Egypt's going to listen. But my own people, he says, behold, they will not believe me and listen to me. For they will say, God hasn't appeared to you. So can you see the double problem that Moses has got? First of all, he's utterly dependent on God to convince Pharaoh, and God says, okay, I'll deal with that one. And then Moses says, but what about my own people? They won't even believe that you've called me to do this job. Worse than that, they won't even believe that you've appeared to me. So can we see this? The fact that Moses is troubled because he realizes that, first of all, the people will not believe the miracle of the burning bush and that God has appeared, and secondly, that they won't even believe this conversation has taken place. So what was the answer of God? The Lord, verse 2, the Lord said to Moses, what have you got in your hand? Said, my shepherd's rod, the rod, you know, that every shepherd carries. And so God says, take that rod, take what's in your hand, throw it on the ground. And he did, and it became a serpent. And a fiery, obviously a poisonous serpent, because we find out that Moses ran away. So then the Lord challenges Moses on this, and he says, put out your hand and take it by the tail. Now, if I know anything about snakes, particularly dangerous, poisonous ones, the worst place to take them is by the tail, because the head will swing round and bite you. But that's what God said. But when he did so, this serpent suddenly turned back into the rod. So what God is saying here is very clear. This will be a sign to the people so that they will believe you. All right? Then we get to verse 6. And God says something else. He says, now, let's do another one. He says to Moses, put your hand into your bosom. And he did. And when he took it out, it was leprous, white as snow. So God said, okay, now put it back in. He does, and he pulls it out, and it's clean. So in verse 8, God says it will come to pass if they will not believe you and will not listen to the voice of the first sign, they'll believe the voice of the second. And it will come to pass, if they won't believe you with those two signs, then here's the third one. He says, you take the water of the river water, pour it on the dry ground, and the river water will become blood. Moses has got that far, but he's still not satisfied. And of course, it's in verse 10 when he says, I'm not eloquent and I'm not a public speaker, so I can't do it. And it ends up by the job going to Moses, to Aaron. But the point that I'm trying to make here is how God sometimes has to use physical, demonstrative signs in order to convince people. Now, I know people are always saying to me, well, that's the Old Testament, what about the New? You know, it's all different. But what I'm finding is this, that our God is, yes, he's the God of the New Testament, he sent his son Jesus, but he is also the God of the Old Testament, but he's our God. And I've seen some incredible signs. I don't know any other evangelist or pastor, bluntly, I don't know any other that has seen the kind of signs that I've seen. For example, I remember some years ago I evangelized a lot in Russia in a place called Asbest. Horrible place, because it's where they mined the asbestos, hence its name. But when we were attempting to hold crusades there, we got a lot of opposition. And on one occasion, we had opposition from the mayor, who tried to stop our advertising, tried to stop us. The interesting thing is that I actually prayed for the mayor, that God would touch him. I was mainly thinking blessing. But the interesting thing is that the mayor who was opposing us was suddenly killed in a car crash. Now, it took place actually at the time of the crusade. And there was another remarkable sign in Asbest, because the second time we were there, next time we were there, the opposition came from the owner of the television company. It was a woman. And she refused to take our advertising and opposed us. In fact, I believe she actually produced a film against us and against the church. What happened to her? She died. And her husband, who took over, was in such fear and panic that, of course, he allowed everything. Now, you say, but that's strange. Yes, but what I'm seeing is, and I'm probably going to follow this up a little bit more, you'll see, might end up with a book, you don't know, but I'm so intrigued to see that where God is dealing with Moses, and in order to convince Moses and to convince the Israelites, God uses clear signs, demonstration, and says literally, now they will believe.